from the rest of the students and teachers, I like to teach the long division first. Why? Because you need more practice with it. So if I remind you about how to divide long ways, remember the divisor. If I said like 3,694 divided by 13. 13 stays outside the house. The 3694 goes inside the house. So that's the first thing we need to set up. And then we're going to remember we're going to divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Repeat. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. So 13 is only going to go into 36. 13 goes into 36 2 times. That's our divide. Multiply, I then multiply 2 times 13. Subtract. And then I bring down only the next term. And then I repeat. So I divide. Now the 13 is going into the 109. I don't even worry about this 36 again. I worry about the 109. Now 13 goes into 109. Not 8 times, 7 times. 7 times 3 is 21. Carry the 2. 7 times 7, or 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. 91. Oh, it did go in 8 times. How did I know that it goes in 8 times? Well, 18 is bigger than 13. So I know that I've made a mistake. And that's okay. That's why we use a pencil in math. So 24, carry a 2. Oh, it's 104. And then subtract. That was our multiply. Subtract. And we bring it down. Now we're dividing 13 into 54. So 13 goes into 54 4 times. 4 times. So that's 12, carry a 1, 42. Subtract 12. Now, if you remember correctly, you take this number and it goes on the top. You're not just going to put R12. You're going to put 12 on the top and 13 on the bottom. So with the remainder, you don't just put like big fat R. You're actually going to put the remainder as the numerator. So, using this knowledge, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. We're going to do the exact same thing with polynomials. What, you say? Okay, so the first term goes inside the division symbol. It is imperative that you do not miss anything as you're writing it. Okay, the minus b, or b to the 7th, or sorry, b minus 7 goes on the outside. I'm only looking at the first number b. So b times what will give me b to the 3rd? Well, that's going to be b squared. Now, why am I putting it here? Well, I have 1, 2 terms. That means I'm dividing into 1, 2 terms. I'm going to then multiply b squared times negative 7. So it's going to be negative 7b squared. And then b squared times b, which is going to give me b to the third. Now it is subtract. It is important that when you remember that you're going to subtract, it's going to be opposite, opposite. Okay. And then a negative 10 plus a positive 7 is a negative 3b squared. If your first term doesn't cancel out, you've done something wrong. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. And we're only going to bring down the next term. Now again, I am only looking to see if my b goes into the first term, negative 3b squared. So to get it to go in there, I'm just going to make it equal. So it needs to be a negative 3b. Negative times a negative is a positive, and 3 times 7 is 21. This becomes a negative 3b squared. And remember I said it is opposite, opposite when we're subtracting. So you can see the first two terms are opposite. They cancel each other out. We are left with negative b plus 7. Well, this b is not negative, it's positive, so I have to multiply it times negative 1. A negative times a negative is a positive, and a negative times a positive is a negative. And then again, just like we've done before, opposite, opposite, and there's no remainder here. So when I divide these, my final answer becomes b squared minus 3b minus 1. Let's try it again. Remember, this one goes inside the house. The p plus 5 goes outside the house. Okay, so p to the third plus 14p squared plus 47p plus 10. Okay, so again, I am just looking at this p, and what do I multiply times p to get p to the third? Well, I'm just going to multiply it times p squared. So p squared times 5 is 5p squared, and p squared times p is p to the third. We do opposite, opposite, and then we add. So a positive 14 and a negative 5 is going to be a positive 9p squared. Bring down the next term. I'm just looking to see what do I need to multiply times p to get 9p squared. Well, that means I need to multiply it times 9p. So we're going to start with our 5. 5 times 9 is 45p, and then 9p squared. And again, we do opposite, opposite, add. First one should cancel out, 2p. What if the first one doesn't cancel out? Then you've done something wrong. You're multiplying by the wrong term at the top. You've multiplied wrong, you've added, subtracted wrong, something to that effect. Okay, so what am I multiplying times p to get 2p? Well, I'm multiplying it times a positive 2. 2 times 5 is 10, and 2 times p is 2p. Opposite, opposite, and add. And again, this one has no remainder. The answer is simply p squared plus 9p plus 2. Well, what happens when we get a remainder? Well, let's find out. minus 25a minus 10. Okay. Again, I'm only trying to multiply what my a is times a to the 5th. So that is going to be a to the 4th. This becomes 3a to the 4th, and this becomes a to the 5th. And then we do opposite. That was supposed to be a 5th. Opposite, opposite, add. -5 and a -3 is a -8, a to the 4th, and the other two cancel. Bring down, and then we multiply again. So this time we're going to multiply it times -8, a to the 3rd. So a negative times a positive is a negative. 8 times 3 is 24, a to the 3rd, -8a to the 4th, and again we do opposite, opposite, and add. This gives us a positive 10a to the 3rd, and we bring down our next term. A goes into 10a to the 3rd. 10a squared times 10 times 3 is 30. So this becomes 30a squared plus 10a to the 3rd. And remember, when we subtract, we are going to do opposite, opposite, and add. That becomes a -8a squared minus 25a. Now we're multiplying times a -8a. 8 times 3 again is a -24a. -8a squared, opposite, opposite, and add. That gives us a -1a minus 10. That means I'm going to need to multiply it times -1. -1 times +3 is a -3. That's a -1a. Again, remember, it is opposite, opposite, and add. That gives us a -7. So again, what are we going to do with this remainder? So we put the remainder over the divisor. So it is a minus because it's a -7. 7 over a plus 3. And so this is the part that you need to, that's different. Otherwise, you do this exact same thing each time.